So today's video is all about step one, just getting on the mat, overcoming the challenges of getting on the mat. When I asked the community what their biggest challenges are of practicing, that was the one that came up the most. It was the struggle of just getting on the mat in the first place, of overcoming procrastination or distractions, or just literally rolling out the mat, like making time. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Throughout this session, I'm going to be asking you questions and engaging with you. So whether or not you're watching me live, which can't be for everyone because of crazy time zone differences, and half of you are on the other side of the world, but if you are joining me live or the replay, either or, answer my questions as we move through, because that's going to help me to answer your questions better and help you with the struggles that you're currently having in your home practice. If we haven't met before, let me just introduce myself. I'm Kate Rosette. I'm the host of the Iyengar Home Yoga Practice Facebook group and the founder of yogabranches.com and a certified Iyengar yoga teacher. And I'm on a bit of a mission to support as many yogis as I can in just making yoga part of their everyday life, making it consistent so that you can actually feel the benefits of yoga because you're doing it regularly. And as I mentioned, there's going to be a three-part series, and today's talk is all about getting on the mat. And we're going to talk about there's three main points here about getting on the mat. But before we do, I would love to hear from you if you're category 1, 2, or 3. So if you could just give me a comment, a little number in the comment box. If you're a 1, you can pop a 1 in the comments. If you're new to starting a home yoga practice and really don't even know how to begin or where to start or how you're going to possibly do it, give me a 1 in the comments if that's you. You can give me a 2 if you have a home yoga practice, but you're struggling to make it consistent and regular. And give me a 3 if you have a well-established practice but always open for some inspiration and motivation. I'm looking down because I've got notes. I've got a lot of information to share with you today, so that's what's going on down there. It's my notes and my cup of tea. Okay, so I'd love a comment there. 1, if you're just starting out and don't know what to do. 2, if you've got a practice but it's not super consistent. And 3, if you're just rocking it and love your home practice but open for more inspiration. Great, thanks Bonnie. Glad to have you here and hear that your practice is doing well. So, and welcome Sam. Haven't seen you in ages. Yay, a few more people are jumping in. So I was just asking there quickly, pop a comment in the box there. And number 1, if you're just getting started and really don't know what to do and how to start a home yoga practice. A 2, if you've started but it's not super consistent. And a 3, if your home practice is rocking, but you just love a bit of inspiration and motivation. Okay, welcome Jessica as well. So I did this really cool thing. I'm going to see if I can, no, I don't know how to do it. There was this thing you can do in Facebook where you can poll while you're doing a live video, but I don't know how to do that. So never mind. Okay. So let's move on to the 3 M's. I've made the 3 M's, and that's how we're going to look at it today. The 3 big challenges of simply getting on the mat. And they are, I've even got my little whiteboard here today. They are motivation, making time, and moving. Oh gosh, that whiteboard mark is terrible. You can hardly read it. Okay. Moving meaning what you're actually going to do when you get on the mat. So let's start with motivation and actually getting on the mat, because that is often people's biggest challenge. Now, If that's you, give me a thumbs up, give me some hearts. I love any kind of interaction as we're moving, so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself or a screen. So you can give me some hearts or thumbs up if it's you, if you definitely struggle just to get on the mat. Now, one of the biggest reasons that we struggle to get on the mat is because we don't actually know why we're doing it. We need to have a little carrot, an impetus. So having the motivation and knowing the benefit of why you're getting on the mat is going to help you get there in the first place. Um, I want to give an example. For example, like it's quite easy to go, I'm going to lie on the couch and read a book, and that's going to be really relaxing and enjoyable, and it's just going to meet my need for rest because I'm feeling really exhausted. So it's easy to do that, and you're going to have this instant benefit at the end. Yoga is a little bit different. It takes more effort to do it, definitely more effort to do it. And the benefits are not always immediately felt afterwards. So we've got this challenge here. And so what I want to do today is to step you through this little process where you can actually find out what your real intention and motivation is for getting on the mat. So what it requires, I've got a little formula. I'm really into my whiteboard. A equals B equals motivation. So I'm just going to tell you a little story about my experience. The glare there is quite big and you can't see. That's A equals B equals motivation. So a little story. When I first started yoga, I had I'd just recovering from knee surgery. I'd actually had knee surgery quite a long time ago, and it just wasn't healing. It wasn't improving. I wasn't getting the mobility, and for a 20-something that I was at the time when I'd had the knee surgery, I wasn't moving like a 20-something. I was hobbling around like an old person, and I was in pain, and this knee recovery just wasn't, this knee surgery had happened, but the recovery wasn't happening like I hoped it would, which is why I started yoga. So that gives you a little clue to what this little formula is. If we can find out what our problem is that we're trying to fix and what we would like to ultimately, I don't like to say the word achieve, but what we'd ultimately like to gain or benefit from doing yoga, that's going to give us our motivation. So in my case, my problem was I had knee surgery, I was in pain, and what I really wanted was mobility and flexibility. I want to be able to get around and go back to riding my bike and swimming and playing soccer and doing things that 20-year-olds do. And so that was my motivation. So I really encourage you to even go through this step right now or write some notes down so that you can take that time to think about, and whether or not you want to go back and think when you first started yoga or right now, like what's happening right now for you. What's something that you would like to work with? Are you, for example, examples are good. For example, perhaps you're just always tired and exhausted and fatigued. Or perhaps you have really tight neck and shoulders, or you have really tight hamstrings, or you have a sore lower back. There's a lot of things. Maybe you don't sleep well. So find out what it is. What's your little problem that you would like and hope that by doing yoga it's going to improve? And then think about what it is that you would really, really like. So for example, if you have tight hamstrings, maybe you're wanting more flexibility. If you have tight neck and shoulders, maybe you're wanting less, pain relief. If you're overstressed and overworked and overexhausted, you're looking for relaxation and peace and calm. So to find those two, that A and that B, so that you know what your motivation is. You got to dig deep and you got to find out what it really is for you, because that's what you're going to pull up and go to when you're struggling to go on the mat. You're like, oh, I really don't want to get on the mat, and the alarm's gone off, and you don't, and you think, hang on, no, I do, because I can still feel my sore back. It's still hurting, and I know that when I do yoga, it helps, and that's going to be your little carrot to get you onto the mat. How are we going? Does that make sense? Good. I'm just checking the comments. Give me a second to check the comments because there's a few there. Cool. Rick is a 2 would be a fair assessment, but had 3 going last year. Our practice is always ebbing and flowing like that. Sometimes we're just, rocking it and we just feel like, wow, this is so good and it's really happening. And other times it's like, yeah, and then you skip a few days or it disappears for a while, or even you're practicing, but it's kind of like this half-assed effort. It's like that. Jessica, we've got a 2, and yoga. Okay, just another comment there, nothing that I need to answer, but if you've got any questions, I'm all up for them being in the comments. So that's it. That was my big first M, was motivation and finding your motivation. What is it that's going to make you get on the mat? Now, the second challenge is making time. I think that point 2, making time, half of that problem is gone once you've got your motivation. It's much easier to feel inspired and motivated to make that time when you know the benefit and what you're going to get out of it. But I'll give you a few more tips on prioritizing and making time. I'm just noticing over here my cat is having a playing attack with my power cords. I'm just going to unplug my computer so that she does, whoa, like just then she would have ripped the computer over. It's really cute. Okay, don't practice with your pets around. That's really distracting. Okay, moving right along. Let's look at making time. Now, wow, today we are so busy. Like, give me a thumbs up or a heart or a yes in the comments if you just look at your day and you wake up and you look at your day, or before you go to bed, you're even looking at the day going, oh my God, it's so packed. How on earth am I going to make time for yoga? Sometimes it feels like that. There's just like from 6 in the morning when you get up with the kids to whatever's going on all the way till 9 o'clock at night. It's just full and you can't find time. That's kind of the way we are running, unfortunately, I would say, in this day and age. And so making time can be really hard. So the first thing I would just say is get up earlier and practice half an hour, like set your alarm half an hour earlier and just get up earlier and do it then. But I know that doesn't work for everyone. Some people are not morning people. Some people work late. They can't get to bed early enough. They don't get enough sleep. There's all of those excuses. And I've got my own experience of that. And I've heard other parents talk about this, that they had that great idea. I'm just going to get up half an hour early before the kids. And you do the first day and you set your alarm half an hour early, you get up and you do yoga and you think, gosh, this is so easy. I should have been doing this forever. And then something like there's this universal force against the parent where the kids know that you're getting up earlier. So they start to wake up half an hour earlier and then it's all over. So I get that. It happened to me. I was like, who told them that? But they get the vibe. So other than getting up earlier, and it can just be, 15 minutes. But if the getting up early is not working, what I want to really challenge you with is going, how much time are you really trying to make in your day for your practice? Because if you're a 1 and you're just starting out and you don't have all the tools in your bag right now to have a regular practice, you really just want to be aiming for 10 to 20 minutes a day. And we're going for regularity, not duration. I'm talking about every single day to get and make a good habit for 10 to 20 minutes a day. And for those of you who are more experienced, have it happening more, if it's not consistent, so you might be going, yes, this is great, I'm doing 30 minutes or 45 minutes every other day, pull it back. Make it 20 minutes every single day. I think the benefits of a regular practice are profound to a sporadic one where it's happening every 2 or 3 days for a longer duration. I'm really up for that every single day. So I think it's quite realistic that you can find 10 to 20 minutes in your day. And a couple of ideas about that would be, think about a habit that you've got that you do every day and you just don't even realize. Perhaps you have a coffee and read the newspaper, or perhaps there's just certain things that you do every day that maybe you don't have to, or maybe you could do them another time. So switch up a routine that you currently have going that's maybe not serving you as well as your yoga is going to, and do your yoga instead. And another suggestion I have is trying to do it in your lunch break. I hope you take one. And in your lunch break, assume you have an hour for your lunch break, that you set the first 15 minutes of your lunch break to do your practice. And then you'll have a good appetite because you've done a little workout, and then you eat. Or trying to do that before dinner. That can get a little bit late in the day, and I find for myself, the longer and later it gets in the day, the less chance there is of it actually happening. But it can also work to do it just 15 minutes before dinner or 15, 20 minutes before breakfast. Just before your meal can be a good way to slot it in. And then the other real key thing here is schedule it in. Like, you put those coffee dates and those meetings and those movies and those kids drop-offs and sports events and birthday parties, you put them all in your diary, right? Because you don't want to forget about them. So put your yoga in your diary. Schedule it in like it matters. And then you'll get, if you set your phone like I do, because my phone just tells me where I have to be and what I have to do, because otherwise I probably won't be anywhere. And so I have these little reminders, and they pop up and they tell me what I have to do now. That's very useful, especially when you're, busy and have kids and a full-time job and a business and this and that. So I'm all up for popping it in your calendar. Like, seriously, put it on repeat. Try and go every single day, same time, and just put it on repeat, or schedule individually so that it actually happens. Okay, let's me do a really quick recap for anyone. I see that a couple of people have just jumped in again live. A little quick recap on the number 1M, motivation. Thanks for the hearts and the faces. I love that. It encourages me. Okay, so just a quick recap on motivation. Find out, what is your problem? I don't really like that word problem, but it'll work for now. What's your problem? What would you like? How are you gonna? What would it look like not having the problem? And that is your motivation. So if you have back pain, not having back pain, being pain-free would be your desire, and then that is your motivation for practicing yoga. The second point was making time, and short of just getting up 20 minutes earlier in the day and doing it first thing there, schedule it into your calendar and make it happen. And go for 10 minutes a day if that's what you need to do to make it actually happen. My eyes are all over the place. The cat's going crazy. I should need to let her out. Okay, and the third one, what you're actually going to do when you get on the mat. This is probably half of your problem with motivation and actually rolling out the mat, because you're completely overwhelmed with what you're going to do, like sequencing, creating a sequence and a program, and knowing how you're going to fill out your time. So let's talk about that. I've got a couple of strategies that will help you, but I would like to know if that is you, especially for those of you who are more experienced, if it's still a challenge for you to create a plan and to know what you're going to do and to create that structured sequence. I'd love a little comment, a yes, a thumbs up, to know if the biggest problem of your struggle for getting on the mat is just knowing what to do, like creating the sequence, because it's one of the hardest things. It takes a long time to develop the skills to create sequences that are really juicy and going to have you at the end of the practice going, that was awesome. So I want to give you some tips on that. And that's part of one of the other video series, actually. That's the cat. That's one of the other video series, is about being focused on the mat and creating a plan before you get on the mat, so your time on the mat is far more efficient. That's next week, actually. So if this is you, tune in next week. But let's get into okay, I need to put the cat out. Give me 1 second, because she's tearing my studio apart. Okay, If you'd see her, she's really cute, but she's kind of crazy this morning. Let's keep going. Okay, so where were we? We were in what to do, how to create sequences. So these suggestions I'm giving today are a little bit more rookie, but if you're struggling, they're good reminders. And next week, I'm going to be talking about a bit more detailed about how to do a plan that's a bit more thrashed out for the more experienced practitioners. Okay, so the first way to know what to do on the mat without having to create it all on your own from scratch is to do what you did in class. Now, hopefully you are in a position, a place where you can attend a class. I know a lot of people can't make classes because there's nowhere near, but that's my first suggestion, is going to class and literally the second you walk out of the classroom, out of the studio, you've got your pen and paper and you're writing down as much of the sequence as you can remember and in the order and as close to the order that you can remember. And I can't stress enough doing it the second you walk out of the studio. Like I do that. I attend a class every Monday night at 5:45 and I literally walk out, sit on the bench and write down as much as I possibly can because it's going to feed me for my next practice. I can then revisit what we did in class, and get more ideas and practice those things and reiterate them in my body so that when I come back to class the next week, I can go deeper. So doing what you did in class is a really simple and also like safe and easy way to approach your practice. And you know, whether or not you're writing the name of the pose in Sanskrit, that can be a bit challenging. Writing an English kind of translation of the pose, you might not have all of them. Go for stick figures. They're so easy and you don't need to be an artist at all. They just, you know, little triangle people for Trikonasana and a little standing man for Tadasana. And, you know, you can get creative when you have to do the more experienced poses and, I don't know, headstand. There's lots of easy little stick figures and they're going to make jotting down quickly much faster. So, and as long as you can recognize it, that's all that matters. If I look at one of the other teachers' sequence at the studio, I'm like, what is that? Because her drawings are really different, but she knows exactly what it is, and that's all that matters. So get into your stick figures, write down what you did after class, and then copy it the next day and the next day. And you might actually manage to remember most of the class, which could be 20 poses. Just do 10 of them in your practice. Break it down, that sort of thing. Try and keep to the order that it was done. That will be helpful. Okay, the second option is to follow a sequence in a book. And that's one of the really cool things about a lot of the Iyengar yoga books is they all have sequences in the back. In the not just sequences, like full week-long programs. So Light on Yoga and the Holistic Path, they all have Gem for Women, they all have sequences in them. The other one, Use Your Yoga, the Mira Metta one, they all have sequences and you can just follow along. Some of them are named, some of them are visually pictured. So there is definitely plenty of options there in books just to follow along and follow as many poses as you know, and only do poses that you know. Don't start following sequences that have these crazy poses in that you've never done before and you might hurt yourself. Just keep it simple, what you know, and follow along on a sequence. And there's two really easy ways there to know what you're going to do. And the last tip is that have it figured out before you get on the mat. So there's nothing worse than going, cool, I'm going to do my yoga, rolling out the mat, and they're like, oh, I don't have a plan. The time on the mat is then kind of wasted trying to figure out what you're going to do, or it's just not super efficient. So I just really recommend, even if it's like getting a scrap piece of paper and just scribbling out like 5 to 10 poses on it and then having that there. So you've just got something to keep you focused and staying along and making your time really worthwhile so that at the end you feel good and you feel like you've achieved your yoga practice rather than kind of fumbling around without a plan. Be really efficient on the mat. I'm all about efficiency. Cool. That's it. They were my 3 M's. Motivation, find out what your problem is, your desire, and then you'll have your motivational point, your little carrot that's going to get you there. Making time, scheduling it into your calendar, finding a little window every day. I also encourage you to have your window, go, okay, I'm going to do it at 6 a.m. and then have a backup time. I love that because if you miss that first window, then you know I've got a second window there at 5 o'clock and I can do it there. So having a backup time also helps. And then the last of my M's is what you're going to do on the mat, moving. And I've given you those two options of copying what you did in class or following a sequence in a book. Or I'd love to tell you about a new, a little program that I've created that can actually just really set you up. But before I jump into that, any questions, I'm up for them. You can post them in the comments. I'm going to give you a second there or a few seconds there to post any comments. And I'm just checking my notes that I haven't forgotten anything. Cool. Nothing's coming through yet, but I know there's quite a delay on the questions because of when those little things were popping up on the screen before. But if questions come through, I'll answer them. And I'd really like to tell you about a little package that I've put together that could be very helpful for you. If you're loving the sound of all of this, but still a bit like, I don't know if I can do that, then what I've got is a 7-day practice program that I've put together so that it's all there for you. And the thing about this program is that I've got what you have to do beforehand. So I'm setting you up, and then what you're actually going to do on the mat in those 7 days, and then what you're going to do afterwards. So I'm going to talk you through those 3 stages, which is essentially what I've run through today. But the thing with the practice program is that I've done it for you. So if you're new to this and it's still a bit overwhelming and you're not sure how you're going to go about it, then the 7-day program is like step by step, literally. So in what you do beforehand, it's important to make those steps to find a space, to know what you to find a space and to have your motivational point and to know why you're getting on the mat. So I've got a bunch of kind of like a little video about really setting up your space, about all the things you need to know before you're committing to a home practice and what it really is. And then I've got some worksheets. I love worksheets. They're kind of daggy, but for me, I think it's really helpful to write stuff down. It's kind of, it cements it for you. Rather than just thinking it, you kind of actually write down your A and your B and find out what your motivational point is. So some really simple worksheets, but I find them inspiring and helpful as well, and they're motivating, and you can put them up on your pin board or something like that, and it reminds you daily why you're doing what you're doing. So this is in the pre-setting up for your practice. I've got some videos to watch about setting up a home yoga practice, about making yoga props using what you've got at home so you don't have to go spend a heap of money at the shops. Some worksheets about finding out your motivational point, your goals, your intentions, writing a little contract to yourself about your commitment to your yoga. And then I've got a 7-day program where I literally every single day just give you something to practice. So depending on your level, if you're a beginner, if you're more experienced, you can choose a different level sequence to practice. Or if you're in that category of being super exhausted and completely fatigued and needing to restore your energy, every day you've also got the choice of just doing a restorative pose, because that's really important to recognize, especially in how busy we are these days in our lives, that maybe actually jumping around the mat and doing a dozen standing poses is not what you need right now, and is not benefiting you, and is not giving you your B, is not filling your desire. And it might be that you need a long, deep restorative practice. So every day you can choose from a 20-minute beginner practice, a 20 to 40-minute more intermediate practice, and then a restorative, so that you don't have to think about what you're going to do. I'm doing it for you. I'm taking out that figuring out what you're going to practice each day and kind of just handing it to you on a little silver platter, so that it's about making it easy. What I want for you is to do yoga every single day for 7 days, for 20 minutes at least, and to feel the benefits and be like, wow, I feel so much clearer in my head. I feel so much more nimble in my body. I'm sleeping better, my digestion's better, whatever. You're going to have a whole bunch of experiences from doing it regularly. And that's what I'm hoping for you to have. And then after the 7-day practice program, if you're rocking it, if you're loving it and you want to keep going, then you can just slot on into my home yoga practice membership and keep on practicing. So the membership site is it's massive now. It's grown so huge since I first started it. There's a whole library of videos from 10 to 60 minutes of lead sequences that you can choose depending on how much time you've got and what focus you want to have in your practice. And you can literally press play and follow along. But as well as that library of videos, there's also heaps of other videos in there to support you with your home practice. There's like pose demonstrations, and these have all been requested by the members. So they ask, can you demonstrate this and show me how to work with this pose? The stuff that you're going to want to actually watch, and then it helps you to implement into your practice. So there's pose demonstrations. There's a bunch of videos of how to modify poses for really basic general injuries and pain points. There's some philosophy talks and discussions in there, and there's also the full restorative series, so you can follow along any of those restorative poses, as well as a whole section on women's business, so poses and sequences to practice to support you during your menstrual cycle. There's heaps. There's kind of just a whole bunch of things to support you in your home practice wherever you are. So I would love if you want to check that out and find it out. I'm going to pop the link in the comments there. The 7-day practice program is free. You can do it completely free. So when you sign up, you get 7 days to work through that 7-day practice program completely free. Then you've got the choice to bail out. I hope not. I hope it inspires you to keep on practicing every day afterwards. Or you can stay in with me and you keep paying a monthly membership fee of $23 a month for access to all of that. And that 7-day program will stay there. You can keep going back and revisiting it. And it's really good to have that program there because like Rick was saying earlier that, you know, his practice was at a 3 last year and it's kind of a 2 now and it ebbs and flows. So what can be really helpful is to jump back into that program where it's completely set and you don't have to think and you don't have too much choice, actually. Not having too much choice and being like, this is what you're going to do each day. And then it can reset you and re-establish that consistency in your home practice. And then you've got the membership portal, which has got lots and lots and lots of choice.